Hello, my lovely bunbuns. Welcome to the magical world of Usagi Tales. I'm Usagi, your favorite chibi bunny Vtuber, here to bring you the juiciest, most captivating stories from the depths of Reddit. Whether it's jaw-dropping drama, heartwarming confessions, or hilarious mishaps, I've got it all right here for you. So grab your favorite snack, get comfy, and let's dive into today's juicy story. First tale of the day is from Relationship Advice, titled, My girlfriend, 26 female, told me, 27 male, that she wants to separate because she thinks my job is too dangerous and doesn't want to lose me. How do I explain that I am safe and prevent her from breaking up with me? For backstory, I work as a bush pilot delivering mail, cargo, and passengers in a backcountry of Alaska. My girlfriend and I have both lived in Alaska our entire lives and went to elementary, middle, and high school together. I asked my girlfriend out a year after high school when she was going to college locally and I was in flight training. We had been dating for 7 years and had been talking about marriage. We learned that we had mutual interest in each other for many years and had found the right time to start dating. Our families consider each other family friends. For my job, after a few years of flight instructing, I had been working for a locally operated charter floatplane service. Alaska has a distinct lack of road infrastructure, and our job is very important in connecting the state. My job is considered relatively dangerous. Being an air taxi pilot in Alaska has about double the fatal accident rate compared to the rest of the country. However, I work at a very safe operation. It is made very clear by my boss, who has 50 years experience flying in Alaska, that the pilot makes the final decision to fly. I am very safe and exhibit proper aeronautical decision-making procedures. 2 nights ago, my girlfriend told me she needed to talk to me while we were watching TV. I asked her what was up, and she told me she had been living stressed out every day that I wouldn't come home. This took me by absolute surprise. I asked how long she had felt this way, and she told me she has been living stressed every day since I got hired at the place I work. I had no clue she felt this way, and we both had a very emotional moment. She told me that she was thinking about ending things because she couldn't handle getting a call that I was overdue and had crashed somewhere in the mountains. She referred to the 2 friends I had lost since doing this work. She said it would be too devastating, and the stress has been impacting her work and personal life. I had absolutely no idea she felt this way and didn't even know how to respond. I was devastated. I asked about how breaking up would be another form of losing me, but she insisted that we would still be friends and very close, but just not be committed to each other. I also mentioned that I eventually be going to the airlines, which is much safer, and how safe my job actually is, but she wasn't having it. I am completely heartbroken. The next morning, she basically gave me an ultimatum that I get a flying job at a safer operation or we will separate. She said that it pains her to do this, but she can't continue living every day scared that I won't come home. I am considering sending my resume to other places and have the flight hours and experience to do so, but I really like my job and am very good friends with everyone there. I understand that her life is being impacted by this, but don't know how to get the point across that I am safe and she doesn't need to worry. I have no idea how to handle this or what to say to convince her that my job is safe. I don't want to lose her. Okie dokie. So, first comment, or top comment, is there's a big difference between my friend died in a plane crash, which would obviously be devastating, and I am not trying to understate how hard it is to lose a close friend, versus my spouse died in a plane crash and now I need to plan their funeral arrangements and possibly have to explain to our kids that daddy isn't coming home. It's valid for her to not want that to be a possibility in her future now that you guys have been talking about marriage. You also have to admit that there's also statistically a huge difference in the risk associated with your job and the average job in your state. And there is always going to be a much higher level risk as long as you're literally piloting a multi-ton hunk of metal through the freaking sky. She isn't unreasonable here, and it's time for you both to decide whether you can go forward from here. To that comment, OP responded, "Yeah, I understand this. I need to reiterate that I completely understand her fear, and it is completely unfair that this is affecting her life. I just can't immediately leave this job or change careers. After this next winter, I can realistically leave for a much safer flying option, and that is what I think I'll bring to her when we talk about this tomorrow. I completely understand the difference between losing a significant other and a friend. However, I will be on to a new step at hopefully Alaska Airlines or another large carrier by the time we have a family or are married. Also, this is the only relationship I have ever been in, and I can't imagine a life without her. But I also just cannot leave this job at the moment. I will try to show her that I can move on to a safer flying option once the season is done. She has said that larger multi-engine flying or airline flying would be okay. She just wants me to move on right away, which isn't realistic." Okay. Well, first off, I totally feel for the girlfriend. Loving someone with a risky job can be super stressful. Imagine living every day scared that your loved one might not come home. It must be really tough on her. And to make it even harder, they've been together for 7 years and we're even talking about marriage. That's a lot of history and love. On the other hand, our pilot friend is really passionate about his job. He's doing important work connecting remote parts of Alaska, and he's really good at what he does. Plus, he's very careful about safety and plans to transition to a safer flying job in the future. It's clear that he takes his job seriously and understands the risks. So what's the solution here? I think the key is for them to have more heart-to-heart conversations. The pilot needs to share more about the safety measures he takes and his plans for a safer job down the line. It might help ease her fears if she knows more about how careful he is. But also, it's important for the girlfriend to feel heard and understood. Maybe they can explore safer job options together or come up with ways to manage her stress. Relationships are all about finding that balance and supporting each other through tough times. It's such a tricky situation, Bun Buns. What do you all think? Could you handle dating someone with a dangerous job? Do you think there's a way for them to work this out? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Moving on, second story is from Am I the Asshole? Titled, Am I the Asshole for Telling Her to Stop Spending $45 on Burgers Weekly? My 42 male sister-in-law, 33, recently started selling burgers on Saturdays. She works a 9-to-5 Monday to Friday office job with a good salary, but she recently discovered she is pregnant with her ex's baby, and he is no longer in the picture, so she is selling burgers for extra income. Now, every Saturday, my wife, 40, buys burgers for our family, 3 kids, 8, 10, and 12. My issue is that my sister-in-law sells every burger for $9, so 5 burgers is $45. The burgers are tasty, don't get me wrong, but she is using my mother-in-law's recipe that my wife also knows, so I don't see why we should spend $45 weekly on burgers when my wife can make identical ones at home and we would spend less money on ingredients. To be clear, technically we can afford sister-in-law's burgers comfortably. I just don't see why we should when there are cheaper options. I tried to talk about it with my wife, and she said she mostly buys because she wants to support her sister. I told her it's not our job to support her sister. Besides, as I said, the burgers are tasty, and every weekend they are sold out in a couple of hours, so I don't think losing our 5 burgers would put a dent in her business. Yesterday, I told my wife again we shouldn't buy burgers, and she asked me why I cared if she was buying them from her money, not our money. We each have an account and one joint account. I told her it's not about that. I just don't think it's sensible to spend $45 every weekend on burgers when she already knows the recipe. She said she will be spending $36 then because she won't be buying mine anymore if it bothered me so much. And that's exactly what she did. She bought burgers for our kids and her, and didn't buy one for me, which, okay. Anyway, I got a Big Mac for cheaper, so I thought we were okay. But she has been acting as if she is mad at me since yesterday. I fail to see why she's mad. Am I the asshole? Whew, okay. So, top comment says, you're the asshole. I was going to say not the asshole until I got to the part where you say that you guys have separate accounts and a joint account, and she is buying the burgers from her own money. We aren't buying the burgers. She is, from her separate money. Does she micromanage how you spend your money? What if she instead just gave her sister $45 a week from her own money in exchange for no burgers? What business is that of yours? Wow, Bun Buns, that was quite the story. So this guy is upset about his wife spending $45 every week on her sister's burgers. Let's break it down. So here's the scoop. The sister-in-law recently started selling burgers for extra income because she's pregnant and needs the money. Every Saturday, his wife buys these burgers for the family, but our storyteller thinks it's too pricey, especially since his wife knows the same recipe. They can afford it, but he just doesn't see the point. I get where he's coming from. $45 a week on burgers can add up, but his wife is buying them to support her sister. It's not just about the burgers. It's about family support and showing love. And hey, sometimes helping out family feels really good, even if it costs a bit more. But here's the twist. They have separate accounts, so his wife is using her own money, not their joint funds. It seems like a small price to pay for family support and delicious burgers, right? Plus, the sister-in-law is going through a tough time, and selling out every week shows she's doing well, but every bit of support can help. I think our storyteller could try to see the bigger picture. It's not just about the cost of burgers. It's about supporting family and being there for each other. Sometimes it's the little acts of kindness that mean the most. So Bun Buns, what do you think? Is he overreacting, or does he have a point about saving money? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, moving on. Third topic is from Just No Mother-in-Law. Title, God Help Me. OP writes, 80% ranting, 20% advice wanted. I've been here before, but it's been a while. To recap, my boyfriend of 4 years, family, is enmeshed, and his mother is a narcissistic matriarch. She likes to control where my boyfriend is and how he spends his time. Today is my boyfriend's grandpa's birthday, and there was a last-minute family outing out of state to see him and celebrate. This outing included renting a cabin over the Canadian border for the immediate family to stay in. My boyfriend wasn't going to go at all at first, but then decided he wanted to go for just the day today. His family suggested he come up last night so he could spend a night at the cabin. This was the plan, but he said he would be coming home today from the get-go, and he didn't want to spend all weekend up there, and because he felt bad since I couldn't attend, since this was last minute and we could not get anyone to watch the pets. Well, I knew from the beginning this wasn't going to fly with his mom. She was going to insist on staying tonight, too. This has nothing to do with Grandpa's birthday, by the way. It's all about control and family time for the sake of family time. But I'm sure you all know that. When he went to drive home this afternoon, chaos broke out. His family was begging him to stay. His mom started crying, saying he was ruining the trip. My boyfriend tried to explain that it was always his plan to leave this afternoon and started walking to his car. His brother chased him down, pleading to stay for his mother. My boyfriend went to get his belongings and leave, but couldn't find his passport. Turns out it was hidden in his mom's purse. Then I get a text from his other brother saying how much fun my boyfriend was having and how important it was that he stayed, and basically it just sounded like they interpreted my boyfriend's departure to be my decision and said he wanted to talk to me about it. By the way, never texted this brother before. I did not respond to the text. I really do not think I should be a part of this situation and don't want to do or say anything that makes me a villain in their eyes, tearing my boyfriend away from them. I called my boyfriend to see how he was doing with all of this. He was surprised that all this chaos broke out. Well, I could see it coming at least. Regarding the text, he thinks I should respond. I disagree with him, thinking I should stay out of this and let him handle his family. He has to at some point. He also told me his mom made several comments about him that made his skin crawl. She's done this before. I suspect emotional incest, but that's a whole other level of fuckery. All of this just makes me so anxious. They see me as coming between my boyfriend and them. I really don't know how to conduct myself, how to stop this from killing me with anxiety. Oof, this sounds like a really weird situation. So, one of the top comments said, I read your previous posts. I guarantee mother-in-law typed or dictated that text to you. She likes to put words in her son's mouths, right? It doesn't matter what you do, by the way. You will always be the bad guy to mother-in-law. Life will be easier if you accept that and just live your life. You're right not to respond to the text. This isn't your problem to solve. I assume boyfriend still refuses therapy, which means he's fine with all this. No matter what he says in the moment, I personally wouldn't let him vent to me anymore about his own bad choices. You're just enabling him. I had to roll my eyes at boyfriend's surprise. Was that genuine, or does he just enjoy the sympathy? I'm beginning to wonder if he's a narcissist too. A lot of golden children are. Be careful and put your needs first. I truly hope you're not considering marrying into this family or having children with him. Wow, Bun Buns, this story was a real emotional ride. We've got a girlfriend dealing with her boyfriend's super controlling family, and it's causing a ton of stress. Let's talk about it. So the boyfriend's mom seems to have some major control issues. She even hid his passport to keep him from leaving. Yikes. And it sounds like this isn't the first time she's tried to control his actions. The girlfriend is right to feel anxious. It's a really tough situation to be in. The boyfriend wanted to come home early from a family trip to be with her and take care of their pets, but his family wasn't having it. It's sad because it sounds like the boyfriend is caught in the middle, trying to please everyone, but ended up stressing out himself. The mom's reaction and the brother's text to the girlfriend make it clear they're blaming her for his decisions. I totally understand why the girlfriend didn't want to respond to the brother's text. She's trying to stay out of the drama and let her boyfriend handle his family, which is smart. But it must be so hard to see her boyfriend in this position and feel blamed for it. The emotional toll is huge. In situations like this, communication and boundaries are super important. It might help if the boyfriend and girlfriend can have a heart-to-heart about how to handle these family dynamics together. Maybe they can come up with a plan to support each other without getting sucked into the chaos. So, Bun Buns, what do you think? Have you ever dealt with a controlling family member? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below. Remember, setting boundaries and taking care of your own mental health is super important. Now, moving on, fourth story is from Off My Chest, titled, My Fiancé Left Me with the Baby He Begged Me to Have. It's been nearly a week now since he's been gone. I had gone to take my grandmother to the spa for the weekend and share with her that I found out I'm pregnant. I'm 15 weeks now. My ex was at our home watching over the cats until I got back. I was going to be coming home Monday morning, and I couldn't wait to come back and see him. But instead, I came home to an empty house. I called him straight to voicemail. I checked every app where I could message him on. I was blocked on all of it. His father lives on the street right behind our house, so I walked over there to see if maybe he was there and something happened to his phone. His father peeped through the window, looked me in the eyes, and closed the curtains again. I rang the bell one more time and just walked home defeated. Not a clue in the world what is going on. I called all the family members I had contact info of. None of them responded to me besides his aunt. She told me she couldn't imagine him abandoning me and the baby since this had been his dream for as long as she can remember. She would call him right away. She never got back to me, and I didn't want to push anymore. But suddenly today, I received an email from my ex. He tells me he was forced into having this kid, that I'm going to use the kid to manipulate him, that he's been unhappy for years because I treated him as if I didn't love him. All these words he shared with me came in as a shock. 6 months ago, he begged me to stop my birth control because he felt it was time for us to have a kid. He kept an app in his phone tracking my ovulation. He would get me all these extra vitamins, minerals, etc. to promote ovulation. He was so happy when he found out I was pregnant. Immediately started planning it all out, watching videos on how to build your own crib. He was going all out. On top of all this, we hadn't had issues in our relationship either. Only 3 years ago, he had a major depression episode, which caused him to lash out at me, blame me for everything, and claim I ruined his life. He tried to leave me then too, but after some talks, he realized it was his depression talking and not him. His words in the email sound so similar to 3 years ago, but now he actually made the choice to leave and blame me for locking him down with a kid. I heard he's staying with his dad, and it is absolutely breaking my heart knowing he's just a few yards away from me and our child. How can he just walk away from something he so desperately wanted? Today, I needed answers and went into our computer to see if I could find anything. He had spent the weekend that I was gone downloading tons and tons of porn and downloading LGBT dating apps and searching on Google how to find trans people in the area. I never knew he was into those things. He never told me. I guess maybe that's why he left. Maybe he was lying to himself. I feel so alone. I have no family or friends. It was just me and him against the world for the last 6 years. Now it's just me and my baby. Well, the top comment is pretty short. It just says, seek legal advice, contact your family for support. It's time to move on. Good luck. Oh, Bun Buns, that was such a heartbreaking story. Imagine coming home to find the person you love and the father of your child has vanished without a word. Let's talk about it. So, our storyteller's fiance begged her to have a baby, tracked her ovulation, and seemed so excited about becoming a dad. But suddenly, he disappeared, blocked her on everything, and left her completely alone. And then, he sent an email blaming her for everything, saying he was forced into it and was unhappy. This is so confusing and painful. It sounds like he's dealing with some serious internal struggles, maybe even a crisis about his identity. Discovering that he downloaded a lot of porn and LGBT dating apps while she was away might mean he's been hiding a part of himself. It's so sad because instead of talking to her, he chose to run away and leave her to deal with everything alone. This poor woman is left heartbroken, feeling abandoned, and with a baby on the way. It's incredibly unfair. She's dealing with a lot of emotional turmoil and probably feeling very isolated. It's important for her to seek support, whether from a therapist, support groups, or even online communities. She doesn't have to go through this alone. It's hard to understand why he acted this way, but it's clear he's struggling with something big. For her, focusing on her own well-being and preparing for the baby is crucial. It's also important to protect herself legally and financially, especially with a child involved. So, Bun Buns, what do you think? How should she handle this heartbreaking situation? Have you ever been blindsided by someone you loved? Let me know in the comments below. Remember, it's okay to seek help and lean on others when times are tough. Now, for the fifth story, it is from Did I Fuck Up? Title, Did I Fuck Up by Pretending to Drown at the Lake? My extended family and I, 22 female, have annual lake trips where we all stay with my grandparents for the week. It's been a tradition since before I was born and is something we all look forward to. There is quite a big age gap between myself and my younger cousins. They are between the ages of 4 to 11, and so I naturally tend to babysit them throughout the week to give my aunts and uncles a break. Although I love my cousins dearly and have no issues with watching over them, it gets particularly stressful when it comes to them all being in the water. Only 2 of them know how to swim, and the other 4 hate the fact that they need to wear floaties while their older siblings/cousins don't. Now, before I get to the drowning incident, I feel like I should note that it had been 3 days filled with me trying to wrangle them into their floaties while also playing lifeguard, aka I was tired and had enough. So today, when they started trying to swim without their life vests, I had the bright idea to show them why it was so dangerous instead of trying to explain it to them again. Big mistake. I had them all sit down on the dock and explain that the reason it was so dangerous to swim without their floaties was because no one could see them if they were to drown. I then told them that I was going to swim further out and pretend to drown to prove my point. They were all in on it, so don't worry. No children were scared in the process, just me. I proceeded to swim out about 70 feet and began my performance. I quietly started flailing my arms and splashing around while looking at my cousins to make sure they were actually paying attention. In all honesty, I didn't think anything of the situation at the time as we were the only people out, or so I thought. Out of nowhere, I heard yelling behind me, and when I turned to look, there was a small boat coming towards me. As my brain was trying to compute what was going on, a guy drove off the side and doggy paddled to me. Without warning, hands reached under my pits, and I was lifted up to what feels like the heavens. It was at this point where I realized how immensely I had fucked up, and so when he worriedly asked me to hold on to his shoulder and kick towards the boat, I just nodded in agreement. When we got to the ladder and climbed up, I was immediately surrounded by a group of concerned friends all around my age who genuinely thought they had almost witnessed a death by drowning. As I was about to explain the situation, I looked over and saw my cousins running inside while laughing their asses off, and decided it'd be easier to write it off as the current being too strong. It wasn't, but they didn't need to know that. I thanked them profusely and was then dropped off at the dock. All in all, I am absolutely mortified, and not only failed to teach an important lesson, but gave an entire group of people the fright of their lives. Ooh, this is funny. Okay, top comment says, as someone who has seen a drowning and saved the child drowning, there is very little flailing. You're so busy, try to stay above the water, that flailing is giving up. To slip underwater without often saying anything. The sentence structure is a little weird. Good on you for making them be safer. Drownings are often, hey, where's blah? They slipped under when no one was watching and drowned. Another comment said, half expected this to turn into How I Met Your Father after mentioning being pulled onto a boat of people your age. Also, the fact their parents don't teach them the importance of water safety and you had to, through this, was the best way. The aunts and uncles need to take more responsibility for their kids around water and stop relying on you. To which OP replied, haha, that would have made the story a lot more interesting. I'm sorry to disappoint. We exchanged socials, but I highly doubt it'll turn into anything like that. But regarding their parents, I 100% agree. Although the tide is usually calm, the water gets extremely deep, and it's scary to think how easily things could go wrong. Ooh, Bun Buns, that story was quite the adventure. Imagine pretending to drown to teach a lesson and ending up being rescued by a group of strangers. Let's talk about it. First of all, I totally get wanting to teach the little ones a lesson about water safety. It's so important, and I can see how our storyteller thought a dramatic demonstration might get the point across. But wow, what a twist when she got rescued by a boat full of people. Can you imagine the embarrassment? I mean, bless those people who came to her rescue. They were genuinely worried and did the right thing. It's heartwarming to see people ready to jump in and help when they think someone's in trouble. But for our storyteller, it must have been a mix of gratitude and utter mortification. And those cousins running off laughing. Kids can be such a handful, especially when they think something is funny. I bet they won't forget this lake trip anytime soon. But did they actually learn the lesson about wearing their floaties? I'm not so sure. Sometimes kids need a more straightforward approach. I totally get why she's mortified. It's tough trying to teach kids a lesson, especially about something as important as water safety. And sometimes our plans just don't work out the way we expect them to. But hey, she tried, and that's what counts. Plus, she ended up with a pretty wild story to tell. Maybe next time, instead of a dramatic demonstration, she could try some fun water safety games or a chat with a real lifeguard. Sometimes, a different approach can make all the difference. And it's always good to have a backup plan when you're dealing with kids. So, Bun Buns, what do you think? Have you ever had a plan backfire on you in a big way? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, sometimes the best lessons come from our own funny and embarrassing experiences. Moving on. Next story is from Am I the Asshole? Title: Am I the asshole for refusing to wear a bracelet I wanted, but my husband paid for? I, 29 female, wanted to buy a bracelet for myself because I finally had a job after searching for a long time and wanted to treat myself. My husband, 35 male, suggested I buy it from his parents because they run a jewelry store and they'd offer me a good deal. That had been my plan anyway, so when we visited them, they live in another state, I went by their store and had a look at what they had in stock. I decided on a piece, but didn't take it right away, as I needed to withdraw some cash. A few days later, I overheard my husband talking to his mom about me, but couldn't hear what it was about. Context info: there had been some negative talk in the past about my struggling to find a job, and I wanted to know if that's what it was about. I asked my husband later what they were discussing about me, and he said nothing, but I got the feeling he felt caught out. Then, he said they were talking about the bracelet I wanted, and he was going to buy it. I said I was happy to buy it myself, but he insisted, and he said he'd sort it out. I was thankful and said, okay. Then, after we returned home, I asked about the bracelet, and he said he was going to give it to me later, maybe my birthday. I was annoyed because I wanted to buy the bracelet and wear it, immediately. And that's what I would have done if he hadn't bought it. He said he paid for it, and that was a nice thing for him to do. I agreed, but said if he kept it, then it felt like he took it from me, and was making me wait to get something that I was prepared to pay for myself. We had a low-level fight about it, after which he said I can just have it right then. But I said I didn't even really want it anymore because Now every time I wear it, I will think about this argument and the whole gesture feels ruined. He accused me of being ungrateful. We recounted this story to his friends. I don't have many friends as we moved here recently, and they all agreed that he paid for it, so I should just be happy. But I feel like if he wanted to pay for the gift that I had picked out and was about to purchase for myself, then it's not fair to make me wait for months for it. Am I the asshole for being upset about him keeping it / not wanting to wear the bracelet anymore? Info. He did give me the bracelet right after the discussion, but as you can imagine, it wasn't a happy moment as anyone imagined. I was almost in tears from trying and failing to explain my POV, and he was also feeling frustrated. Okay, so top comment says, not the asshole. I find the one saying, you're the asshole, so strange. It feels like a weird power play by your husband. I would not be happy if I was going to buy myself something with my own money, then have my significant other tell me they would buy it for me, then refuse to give it to me. Honestly, you should go out and buy a completely different bracelet and wear it with pride. To which OP responded, this is exactly how it felt, like a power or control move. I think I used a similar term when we discussed it, like I was going to buy it and you bought it out from under me, so now I can't have it. Oh bun buns, this story has many layers to it. Let's dive into the heart of the matter. First, I totally understand the excitement of wanting to buy yourself something special after finally landing a job. It's such a huge milestone, and you deserve to celebrate that. So when our storyteller decided to buy a bracelet from her in-laws' jewelry store, it was a big deal. But then, things took a bit of a twist. Her husband decided to buy it for her as a gift, which is a sweet gesture in theory. But keeping it until her birthday, I can see why that didn't sit well. From her perspective, she wanted to enjoy her accomplishment immediately. Having to wait for months for something she was ready to buy and wear right away feels like her celebration was put on hold. It's like dangling a carrot in front of a bunny, only to pull it away. And then the argument. Oh, bun buns, that must have been so frustrating for both of them. He thought he was doing something nice, but she felt like her moment was taken away. It's a classic case of good intentions gone a bit awry. I really feel for her. When she recounted the story to her husband's friends and they sided with him, it must have felt so isolating. It's tough being the new person in town without many friends to back you up. But honestly, it's about understanding each other's feelings. She wasn't being ungrateful. She just wanted to enjoy her accomplishment her way. Communication is key here, bun buns. If you're in a similar situation, try to talk it out before it becomes a big deal. Maybe next time they can discuss gift-giving expectations. It's important to understand how the other person feels and find a middle ground. So, what do you all think? Have you ever had a well-meaning gesture go a bit sideways? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments. And remember, it's always good to talk things through and try to see things from each other's perspective. Okay, next is our 7th and last story of today. And this one is from Off My Chest. Title, I'm gay and slept with my female best friend. I don't know why, I don't exactly regret it, except it's sort of doing my head in. I guess I just need to talk about it, because it's my mind and my confusion, and it's not fair of me to put it on her. I've loved this woman like a sister, like my other half. Like the family neither of us have ever had for 3 years. Like, truly loved her, still do. I felt like the protective, younger, older brother. She's older by a little, but I have 9 inches of height and 80 pounds on her. She's petite. Definitely not fragile, though. She's just always felt like she's had to take care of herself and do everything herself, and I was honored she let me take some of that weight off her. I've never thought of her as incapable, but I've always felt fiercely protective of her. She's had a hard time lately with some life stuff. I came over last night like I have 100 times. We had a few drinks like we have 100 times. And I can't remember the context, but she said, "If you weren't gay, I'd kiss you." She was being silly. When I said, "Do it anyway," I wasn't. I had no clue why, except I actually wanted her to. I guess maybe that's enough reason. One thing led to another. I felt like I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I've only ever been with men. She was patient and confident enough to show me and tell me what she liked, and she seemed to enjoy it. Physically, it wasn't bad. Actually, it felt amazing. I felt like I was both in the right skin and the wrong skin. It felt wrong being with a woman, but right in a way because we've been so close and open with each other. Leaving was weird. Everything felt different, but nothing did. She hugged me at the door like always, and I texted her when I got home like always. Now I don't know. I know humans are complicated and sexuality isn't all one thing, but somehow I feel less like myself. Like I betrayed who I am. And that's nothing on her. Maybe it'll pass. I hope it does. I don't feel any different towards her. I feel different towards myself, if that makes sense. I don't know what I'm even looking for here. Just somewhere to type it out and know someone saw it maybe. This sounds very complicated. So, top comment says, "Is there any possibility you got attached to the label? Maybe you got your identity so attached to the idea of being gay that the idea of not being sure about it makes you feel like you betrayed yourself. I'm not trying to suggest bisexuality, etc. It's probably even more complicated than that, but maybe it's just tied to your idea of yourself. That said, I've known women that dated men for years just to find out they're lesbians. So whatever it is, stuff happens. I'm sure you guys will be able to talk it out." To which OP replied, "Not impossible, but also in the gay and lesbian community, it is important. There's a lot of guys bragging about being gold/platinum star gay men, and a lot of biphobia and bi-erasure. So attaching yourself to a label just sort of happens by default. I don't know if that's good or bad, or if it just is." Another person under the thread commented, "I experienced this and can really empathize. I consider myself lesbian, was in a relationship with a woman for 5 years. She was maybe more attached to the label itself than I was, but I never thought I was anything other than a full-on gay. Never felt the need or want to explore men. Never was attracted to men, only women. I was, quote, gold star. Though it wasn't important to me. When we broke up and I started seeing a guy who actually later came out as non-binary, funnily enough, our whole circle of lesbian friends instantly jumped to back my ex, who is actually abusive towards me. I got unfriended by everyone on Facebook and all that jazz before I could even explain the breakup, mainly because I was a traitor in their eyes. I think it stung my ex more that I started seeing a guy than the fact that we broke up. My partner after the abusive girlfriend is now an ex too, but I've continued dating men. It took some time to accept I'm bisexual rather than lesbian. It actually did take a weird toll on my sense of self. Not exactly your story, but I can relate to some of the feelings you're going through. So you're not the only person in the world experiencing funny emotions surrounding your sexuality. Sending you lots of love and good energy." Wow, Bun Buns, this story is really something, isn't it? Let's talk about what just happened here. Our storyteller is a gay guy who slept with his female best friend. That's a big deal, and it's totally understandable why he feels all sorts of confused right now. First off, the bond between these two is clearly so strong. I mean, he's loved her like family for years, and they've been there for each other through thick and thin. That kind of connection is rare and beautiful. But then, In a moment of vulnerability and maybe a little bit of curiosity, things took a turn they didn't expect. It's interesting how he describes feeling both in the right skin and the wrong skin at the same time. That really highlights how complex human emotions and sexuality can be. Just because something feels physically good doesn't mean it fits with how we see ourselves, and that can be super confusing. I get why he's feeling like he might have betrayed himself. Sexuality isn't always black and white, and sometimes we do things that make us question our identity. But it's important to remember that one exception or one experience doesn't define who you are. It's okay to explore and figure things out, even if it's confusing or messy. As for his relationship with his best friend, it sounds like she was supportive and patient. That's so important. They've built a solid foundation of trust, and it doesn't sound like this experience has changed how they feel about each other, which is a good thing. It might be a bit awkward for a while, but true friendship can handle some bumps in the road. To our storyteller, it's okay to feel confused and take some time to sort through your feelings. Talking to a therapist or a trusted friend might help too. Remember, it's your journey, and it's okay to take your time figuring things out. You're not alone in this. So, Bun Buns, what do you think? Have you ever had a moment that made you question something you thought you were so sure about? Let me know in the comments. And remember, it's okay to be confused and take your time figuring things out. We're all just trying to make sense of this wild journey called life. And that's the end of today's tales, my lovely Bun Buns. I hope you enjoyed these juicy Reddit stories just as much as I did. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment or review to let me know what you think. You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok at Usagi_tales for even more fun content. And hey, if you have any stories you'd like me to read or games you want to see in the background, send them my way. I love hearing from you all. Until next time, stay curious and keep hopping down the rabbit hole of juicy stories. Bye-bye, Bun Buns!